Hello all, good morning. Welcome to the session Electric Vehicle and Hybrid Electric Vehicle Fundamentals from Gannett Academy. So we'll start the session in 2 minutes. Meanwhile, I request all the participants to answer the poll. We got good response on this question exactly. So I request all the participants to put the poll to answer the poll question. So what is the main criteria in the names of hybrid configurations? So P0, P1, P2, P3, P4. Hope you might have came across with some of the names like P0, P1, P2, P3, P4. I request all of you to answer the poll. So that at the end of this session, you will come to know what is the main criteria, obviously. Great, I can see many answers. Thanks for the voting the polls. I can see more answers on all the options. So let me wait for a few more seconds so that I will publish the result as well. Yeah, thanks all for putting your vote. So I can see the results. The powering electric motor is given the most options, which is 66%, and the type of battery is 27%, and location of electric motor is 38%, and type of motor is 16%. So I can see the first option as more votes. So that let's see, while going through the video, while going to the course, right, you will understand what is the main criteria and the names of hybrid configurations. So welcome all to the session. So we'll start the session now. So my name is Manjunath Pedukotla. I'm the Chief Engineer at Gannett Engineering Private Limited. So I have more than 15 years of experience at different companies, including Mahindra and Mahindra, Caterpillar, Cummins, Continental, General Motors, etc. At Gannett, I am the thought leader and conceptualized Calgi. Calgi is our innovative calibration platform product, which helps to reduce a lot of product development time. My expertise includes engine calibration, system integration, vehicle level validation, calibration, onboard diagnostics, design of experiments application, hybrid electric and electric vehicle system integration, and numerical modeling techniques. If you look at all the courses which I was teaching at Gannett Academy, the lot of experience has been gone behind in creating these courses. So the courses we offer at Gannett Academy includes a lot of application area, how to apply things. When we talk about electric vehicle and hybrid electric vehicle fundamentals, right? The focus is about how to make EV or HEV. Okay, and in the sense of having better efficiency and more safety, and try to go for concept to production. Okay, so you can see this is my LinkedIn connect. So you can connect with me in LinkedIn, or you can connect directly to my email. So you can see my email here. For knowing more about Gannett and Gannett Academy, you can go through this links. So the agenda for today, we'll have a Gannett introduction, then we'll have instructions to follow through this webinar, then electric vehicle and hybrid electric vehicle fundamentals course details, the complete course details, and we'll come to the topic of the day, which is electrification of IC engine vehicles. Then we'll have a question and answer session for 15 minutes. Later, we talk about a sign-up process with Gannett Academy and the course registration process. Coming to the introduction about Gannett. So we established Gannett Engineering Private Limited in 2016 in Bangalore and Chennai. We have 2 offices. Right now, all our technical team is at Bangalore office. We have partner ecosystem in USA, Germany, and we have customers in India and USA. Coming to the products, the CalG is our, as I mentioned earlier, our innovative calibration optimization platform product, which helps to reduce a lot of product development time, and it uses data analytics approach. Today, it has been applied for IC engines calibration. So to reduce the development time on the IC engine calibration at the engine level and vehicle level. As it is a platform, it can be adapted to different areas as well. So coming to Gannett Academy. Gannett Academy is our edtech startup, which focuses on creating an ecosystem where we'll have a number of courses as well as a relationship with multiple universities to create an ecosystem where we'll have continuous research happening as well as the resources available for industry as well as from universities, right? Matching the requirement of the industries. Then we have Raptor platform, which is a product from our partner New Eagle. They focus on, they provide us with all the electronic control units, platforms, and the display units to do the controls development. I'll show you some of the ECUs which we work with every day. So coming to our industry partners, like industry customers, you can see here, and we have multiple universities are in discussion with different areas. I don't want to go in detail now. So you can see here, this is our Gannett lab in Bangalore. So this is the area what we call a systems and controls area. Then this is the wiring harness area where we make the wiring harness for the ECUs. Then you can see one of this bench which has all these platforms connected to this hardware. So this is the electronics and soldering area. This office is having a secure access control. If you see on the right bottom, this is the like you are working with systems using ECUs. This particular, you say, assume this is the one of the ECU in the whole vehicle system, and this is the another ECU in the whole vehicle system. So here, how we are working with different ECUs in the network, and say this ECU is controlling the throttle also. So this is just one of the EV kit and IC kits which we have. So coming to the list of different ECUs we have, right? So this is just an example of ECU, but we have many more ECUs than this. So these are the range of display units. Again, these are not the only display units. We have again a range of display units. So this is an example what we shown earlier. This ECU is normally an 8-cylinder gasoline ECU, and this is a 7-inch touchscreen display unit. So some of the courses comes with remote access to the labs. So what you saw earlier, the Gannett lab, you will have access with the development kits connected to those computers, which again, these computers will have all the softwares needed to do your own development. So we can see more traction from startups and students to learn on hands-on on these real development kits using MATLAB and Raptor. So once you connect to these computers to the remote lab, you can do your development and then you can flash the ECU and then see how it works. Of course, Gannett will help you to connect to the right hardware and make the wiring harnesses to connect to those systems and connect it. So coming to the instructions on this webinar. So whenever the poll questions has been raised, you will have a pop-up on your screen, which for which we request you to answer that particular question and submit your answer. So if any questions during the webinar, please put it in the, you can see on the left top of your screen Q&A. So just go to the Q&A place, and then you can type your question in the bottom and then ask. Once you give your question here, right? So during the QA time, I'll answer almost all the questions. If the time is not sufficient to answer it, I will straight away connect to you offline and then try to answer your questions. But don't worry, your questions will be answered. So for any detail, like if you have a question after this webinar anytime, you can just connect with me directly. This is my email ID. I can also put this email ID in your chat window. So or you can straight away email to academy@ganetSolutions.com. So these are the two email IDs which you can connect with, so that we will have your queries answered. So coming to the topic, which is the electric vehicle and hybrid electric vehicle fundamentals course. This course is a set of 8 modules. What you can see on the left here, 1 to 8, right? These are the different modules on the whole course. So if you see on the right, you can see here, these are the 7 modules which has been kept here. The 8th module, which is hands-on EV and HEV design, will be coming soon. Meanwhile, let me explain all of these modules to you. So electrification of IC engine vehicles is the first module. See, if you look at most of the electric vehicles right now, people are going to compare with IC engine vehicles, or even they are going to convert many of these IC engine vehicles to electric vehicles. Either you have to convert only from IC engine to EV, or you want to augment it. It depends upon what is the requirement. So the first topic, the first module gives you the understanding of what are the challenges of IC engines, and what are the when we compare with IC engines versus electric motors, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Then the different architecture P0, P1, P2, P3, P4. Then the different configurations which are possible while go for EV, IC to EV or ICV to HEV. So, so today the topic is going to be the first one, electrification of IC engine vehicles. The second module is electrified powertrain types and architectures, which explains about different technologies coming towards with the electrification of vehicle. So the types we are going to discuss in this particular module is battery electric vehicle, then hybrid electric vehicle, and plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, range extender, fuel cell, and solar vehicle. How those technologies are linked with respect to these powertrain types and architectures. Then we have a series and parallel configuration of these particular architectures. Then the different vehicle working modes possible with each different technology and configuration type. Then the third module explains about electric motors for electric vehicles. You might have seen many courses or many details about different technologies of motors. Okay, different technologies of motor. It can be BLDC motor, it can be brushless DC motor or brushed DC motor, or it's going to be AC motor, or it's going to be SRM motor. So each motor, the way it works is different, but here the focus is how to understand each of these motors and how to select the right motor for certain application. Okay, so when you also look at data sheet of motors, all suppliers of motors will be easily providing the data sheet. But how do you understand the data sheet, and how do you make sure you have your right motor selected for the application? As I mentioned you earlier, all this experience of what we worked with different electric vehicle projects. Okay, so all this experience has been come up as a course. How to select different motor, and what is the technology to select for that, and what are the factors to select such components. Again, coming to batteries. So batteries, batteries are one of the key component again for electric vehicles. So the benchmarking of electric vehicle, different batteries with respect to different parameters is needed. So in this module, we'll be explaining about the benchmarking of electric vehicle batteries. Then the different factors important which are useful to select electric vehicle batteries, the types of batteries which are really available in the market, then how to optimize vehicle performance and try to select the right battery. And going to the battery basics, it's what are the mean by battery cells, modules, pack, and the thermal management needed for that battery management system and the usable battery life. The next module focuses on the charging system for electric and hybrid electric vehicles, which includes, say, people might be thinking of what is slow charging, fast charging, DC fast charging. So many options are there. So this module gives you the understanding of what is meant by a charging system and what are the different components that is involved in the charging system. Okay, how to reduce the complexity even on the charging system side. Okay, so there we focus on onboard chargers and DC-AC inverter and AC-DC inverters, then the converters. Then the next module is on auxiliary systems for electric vehicles. This is really important module, which, normally when we say, yeah, this is what is needed to move things work, but there are many other systems which are helping the main systems to work a lot and be at safely as well as give it better efficiency. So this auxiliary system module covers the cooling system, lubrication system, air conditioning system, safety system, dashboard, vehicle control system, and miscellaneous hardware. The next module, which is vehicle performance specifications. This module gives you an understanding of how to bring up the EV performance specifications. Like what are the specifications you need to come up when you are trying to create a EV vehicle. Either you are going from ICE to EV or EV straight away. So this means like a top to bottom approach or bottom to top approach. So any option of making a EV vehicle, how to arrive at EV performance specification. Then the other one is HEV performance specifications. Here you are not removing the IC engine, but you are augmenting the electric motor to the IC engine. And how do you able to make a performance specification for a HEV configuration? And the last module, which is hands-on EV and HEV design. This particular module focuses on how to select all. This is like exercise part of what you understood all the things, right? So in the last module, you will learn about how to select a motor. It's basically application examples, how to from a database, or from how do you calculate motor requirements, how do you calculate battery requirements, how do you calculate charging requirements, then how do you select all the auxiliary systems which overall can achieve the vehicle performance requirements. Today, if you see on the right, what you see, right? So we have the first 7 modules are available to take in a self-paced mode. I'll explain you what is self-paced mode and then the instructor live course differences. Okay, so these 7 courses are already available at Gannett Academy, and the 8th module is going to be available as a self-paced module in a week's time. Okay, the people who takes this particular 7 EV courses today and tomorrow will get this 8th module also as a free option for them. Let me talk about how to get the course. As I said, there are 2 types of course access. One is self-paced and the other one is online instructor-led. So you can see the options here: self-paced course and online instructor-led course. So this self-paced course option is the one where you can straight away go and register and take the course as and when you find time. This online instructor-led course you will be getting a schedule of what are the different classes you are going to have and what are the topics of each class. Then accordingly you have to log into the instructor meeting and then instructor session, and then take the course where instructor is going to teach you live. So for instructor live courses, I request all of you who are interested in taking instructor live courses can send an email either to academy@Gannett Solutions, or you can send it to me directly, manjunath.pedakotla@GannettSolutions.com, or you can send to both. So we'll get connected with you and then help you in the registration of instructor live course. On the other side, for taking access to all the self-paced course. You can follow this link. After this webinar, you will be guided to this particular link. So wherein you can take this particular 7-pack of courses. Okay, you can just add to cart and complete the process. Then you will have these courses in your account. And one more important thing is, whoever take live course, they also get 365 days access to the self-paced course as well as a free option. So coming to the course overview part. So this course focuses on the IC engine powertrain vehicles, which is converted to electric powertrain vehicles. So you have IC engine vehicle and you have electric motor, where IC engine is being replaced by electric vehicle, or the electric motor is augmenting the IC engine program. So here we will understand about the multiple configurations feasible for doing these options, either going for IC engine to EV or IC engine to HEV. What are the different configurations that are feasible to have it? Then the IC powertrain to EV powertrain component selection procedure. Of course, before going to component selection procedure, you will have understanding of each of the component, why it is so much important and what are the factors to select it. And finally, you will have a hands-on design for one vehicle configuration. It can be passenger car, it can be heavy duty, depends on the exercise to exercise we'll be having. You will get option to do one hands-on design for one vehicle configuration to convert to electric vehicle or hybrid electric vehicle. And finally, you'll also understand how to select components for EV powertrain for building a safe EV. So for registration of live course, please email us at the options which I told you earlier. So this course is totally 10 hours course, which is available in both self-paced and instructor live program. For instructor live program, it's going to be a weekday program where you have sessions from 7 to 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Okay. So in this week, I'll also show you the schedule in the end. So don't worry if someone is interested in self-paced courses. So you might have a question about how to connect with the trainer, or how to answer, how to have the questions getting answered. So for these things, you'll have an email connect with the trainer for questions. Anytime you can send me the email to the trainer. In these particular courses, as I am the trainer, you can send me the email directly, or you can send it to academy@ganecsolutions.com, and your questions will be answered. And you will be having monthly one session for 1 hour where all your questions can be taken up there and answer your questions for self-paced courses. So to know about this particular course, this course is developed to solve understand the basics of EV and HEV, as the current trend is towards the electrification of IC engine powertrain to EV or HEV. This course provides a methodology to select right layout and right components for electrification. So the students, as well as the people working in the electric areas, or the startups working in the electric areas, and the research scholars, the PhD candidates, teaching faculty, everyone, they are eligible for this particular course. So let's go to the technical topic, which is electrification of IC engine vehicles. So coming to the electrification of IC engine vehicles, first we need to understand what are the challenges that IC engines are facing today. So I request a poll now. So let's see what do you feel are the IC engine challenges right now, which are mainly focusing on the move to electrification. So I request all of you to answer the poll. Thanks for the vote. So I can see 83% or 81% people has voted saying emissions is the main problem and fuel efficiency is the second option, which is 60%. And the faster response is 30%, vehicle weight is 30%. So thanks for all your valuable votes. So I can see, the emissions being a major factor and things. So let me also explain you what are the real challenges for IC engines. The first challenge which IC engines are facing today is the emissions. When we talk about emissions, so the regulated emissions, unregulated emissions are many. So coming to the regulated emissions, it's carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, and particulate number. And the second challenge which IC engines are facing today is the fuel efficiency, which is measured in terms of kilometers per liter or miles per gallon or CO2 norms. And the third challenge right now the IC engines are facing is response, which is measured in terms of achieving faster speeds in less time. So coming to the options, what we talked about. So what are the IC engine challenges where electric motors are taking advantages? I see all these three are the important factors where IC engines are having a bigger challenges and electric motors are taking more advantage. So coming to, we just need to understand a little bit more about IC engine combustion, and because when we are trying to say we are going from IC engine vehicles to EV or HEV vehicles, we also need to understand what are we trying to replace or append it to the complete system. So for this, we need to understand what is IC engine combustion. An IC engine is a system where fuel mixes with oxygen and produces high temperature and high pressure. And these particular high pressure gases energy pushes the mechanical components producing mechanical power from the IC engine. So ideally, the fuel and oxygen in the air has to mix each other in the IC engine combustion chamber, and it has to produce high pressure, high temperature, and CO2 and H2O. It was not supposed to produce all the other emissions which we talked about. It's coming to the ideal scenario. But in real scenario, it's producing other than CO2 and H2O, which are hydrocarbons, CO, NOx, PM, and PN. So out of these particular emissions, currently these are the regulated emissions. That's the reason why I am putting only these particular emissions here. But there are many unregulated emissions. So this process of producing mechanical power from fuel is called combustion. So whatever the emissions we're talking about, it's the combustion emissions which we are trying to focus. So these are the regulated emissions and there are many unregulated emissions. Now, when we are planning to shift from ICE to EV or HEV, assume the first case like you are trying to move from ICE to electric vehicles. Now we are going to replace this IC engine in the vehicle and incorporate electric motor. When we try to do that, so what are the different aspects need to be taken care from a vehicle performance point of view? So we need to understand about what IC engine is right now providing. Okay. So we'll discuss on IC engine power and torque. When we hear IC engine specifications, the power and torque are the two things always highlighted. So what is power and what is torque? So have a look at these pictures and it will clarify your questions easily. So the power, it can be represented as by a horse and torque is represented by elephant. So when you need more power, so you see normally when do we need more power? More power is needed to pull loads at running condition to move fast. Assume you're already driving at 100 kmph. Assume you're already driving at 100 kmph. If you want to drive more fast, then you need more power. The more torque is needed to pull loads from static condition to low speeds. So assume you have a bunch of load to carry and move instantly, then you need more torque. Assume you are driving uphill, your car doesn't need more power, but it needs more torque to move at low speeds. So power and torque are the very important for defining vehicle performance. So now we will see how performance curves of engine look like with respect to the engine power, engine torque, right? How does these performance curves look like? As I mentioned, while we are trying to replace this IC engine with electric vehicle, so what kind of performance we are going to put it in the vehicle? So for that reason, we need to understand what is power torque and how the power curves for IC engine are there and how we have to look at EV part as well. Coming to the IC engine power curves, as I mentioned, power and torque are very important for defining vehicle performance. So have a look at this sample performance curves of this is one of diesel engine performance curves, which has the maximum torque of 450 Newton meter. So here you can see the primary axis is engine speed here, and the secondary axis is torque, and the secondary axis is power. So the blue color line indicates the torque, and the red color line indicates the power. Okay, so this is how the typically performance curves look like. This particular engine shows a flat torque, a flat maximum torque from say 1600 rpm to 2400 rpm. Okay, so it can be even like a single top curve, like inverted bell curve. Okay, so our this is the basically you need to understand what is this power curve. So you can see this is the maximum power point of this particular engine, and this is the maximum torque. So you can see here this particular torque curve at the low speeds. This is the important factor here, which helps you to take more load, and this is the particular factor which helps you to take the more speed. So when we look at different conditions, at gradient conditions for all vehicles, you need more torque. So if you are trying to operate that particular vehicle in most of the time in gradient conditions, so the vehicle which we are going to convert to EV, that particular EV should provide more torque than more power. So coming to heavy duty and off highway vehicles, you see there is more torque is preferred because heavy duty vehicles are carrying more load. Even take an example of bus. Bus is going to carry more people, which and the load. Then it has to assume it has to move up the hill. Okay, it's too much load and it has to move up the gradient. So it needs more torque than it needs more speed. Even for the off-highway vehicles which work like take a road roller or take a construction equipment, right? So they'll be working at only one point and then pulling more load and doing things. So you need more torque for those kind of applications. Okay, for on-highway vehicles, like I talked about, even bus needs both because it has to work in both conditions, on the highway as well as in the gradient. Coming to the ideal speed. So this is what the terms you need to understand from IC engine, and then when you're trying to understand electric vehicle, electric motor, right? So because you're going to substitute this with the IC engine, so you need to understand the different terms and the terminologies of IC engine. The other one is ideal speed. So ideal speed is the engine speed at which the power is zero. So you can see here on the right, extreme right on the x-axis. So I think close to 4,700, you have zero power. Okay, zero torque, of course. Okay, zero power. So this we call as the one of the ideal speed. Now, if you take the power curve on the extreme left side, okay, if you extrapolate it, it may also reach or touch at one point where the power is zero. So here you have two ideal speed points, like one is on the left side and one on the right side. So we call this as a low ideal and high ideal speed. So this gives you, this is the speed range of operation of this particular engine. Okay, so this is the speed range, low idle, high idle, and this is the torque, maximum torque which is going to be provided at these particular speeds, and this is the maximum power which is providing at that particular speed. So now we understood about the IC engine things. Let's see how power generated in IC engines is delivering the power to the wheels. Okay, so here I'm not focusing on the off-highway equipments. I'm focusing more on the on-highway vehicles like passenger cars or buses, any option. So I was trying to see when it is has to power something, because the engine is there to power the wheels, and wheels are going to move on the either road or anywhere. So basically, to power the complete powertrain, IC engine is becoming the heart of it. Now, when you want to replace that heart with electric motor, okay, so we need to understand how that is going to impact the total vehicle movement. So in a normal IC engine vehicle, IC engine output power or torque are measured at flywheel of the engine. So you can see this is the engine and the flywheel which is connected to the engine. So the power and torque are measured with respect to whatever we are talking about earlier performance curves. The power and torque are the parameter which is coming at the end of this flywheel. Then most of these engines has been connected with the transmissions with a number of gears. Okay, and these gears is connected to the drive shaft, and you have a rear axle or front axle, whatever axle, then to the wheels. Okay, so this is the normal power distribution, how it happens. This is the power at engine, then it will transfer to all the wheels. Now, take an example of a car. Which wheels are provided power in a passenger car? Which wheels of the vehicle will be provided power in a four-wheeler? Now, if we talk about different layouts possible, right? In this particular layout, this particular engine and connected to transmission, it's connected to rear axle, which is powering the wheels, and the two front wheels are not being powered. So this is the driver position, this is the front wheels, and we can say this is the rear wheels. Okay, so in this condition, we have the engine powering the rear wheels. If you see this particular engine layout, where the engine is powering the front wheels, not the rear wheels. And if you take a different approach where you have engine providing power to all the four wheels. So if you look at many of the vehicles which are rear wheel drive, so all the vehicles which are like mostly SUVs and then higher power vehicles, they will have rear wheel drive connected. Most of the passenger cars, what you see, you will be mostly with front wheel drive configurations. Okay, all the passenger cars mostly will be front wheel drive, and most of the SUV, buses, everything will be rear wheel drive. But and also there is some vehicles will have option to connect two wheel drive or four wheel drive. Okay, so then when you say two wheel drive or four wheel drive, this has option either to two wheel drive means again they will say two wheel drive means either of these two options, which are rear wheel or front wheel, and all wheel drive means connect to all four wheels. Okay, so all wheel drive vehicles is very much needed when those particular vehicles are moving more on the gradient conditions. So this is about different power distribution layouts in wheels. Okay. Now, during all these things, how much power generated in IC engines is delivered to the wheels? Okay, how much power and torque generated is delivering to the wheels? Let's look at about IC engine combustion energy from fuel and the losses. Coming to the losses, the exhaust losses is close to 30% in IC engine, and the coolant losses is close to again 30%, and the remaining power is what we call as the indicated power, which is close to 40%. Out of this indicated power, so engine has to take care of its own systems, like for cooling and other lubrications things, and then take care of friction. Finally, the amount of power which is delivered to the wheels is close to 30%. Okay, with improvement of new technologies, this brake power can increase a little bit more. Okay, so but again, obviously, it's not going to even reach 50% in soon years. Okay, so this is how the energy losses happening with IC engines. So the power which is delivered to delivered to the transmission is this brake power, which is 30%. Okay. So now coming to electric motor, as we said, we are going to take this and yeah, replace the IC engine with motor, right? Let's see the electric motor performance curves, as well as what are the losses in electric motor. Is it right thing to replace it or not? Coming to the electric motor performance curves, as you can see here, the blue again indicates the torque and the orange indicates the power. So if you compare earlier, you have motor is very crucial. Now you understood already when we have to remove the IC engine and replace it with the electric motor. So in these conditions, you need to understand how to what I am trying to replace and what are the specifications of that particular part. So now coming to energy losses of electric motors. So electric motor energy, here the losses on electric motor is more on focus towards the spinning losses and thermal losses. Spinning losses also includes this iron losses, copper losses. Okay, then you have thermal losses, and finally the brake power which we are going to provide to the particular transmission. Assume the same electric IC engine vehicle is replaced by electric motor. Okay, so it is connected to the transmission and to the wheels. Okay, so you're going to have 95% of 90 to 95% of power. Say 90% is what you're trying to get it through electric motors. When we try to compare, this makes it more helpful to see, yeah, there are less losses in electric motor. Okay, but again, electric motor needs electric power, which has to be derived from some other source. So here I'm not talking about the losses incurred for generating the electric energy and using the electric energy. So here I'm talking about electric motor using the electric energy and providing the power. Okay, so the brake power is what we are trying to get it from this particular electric motor to the rest of the powertrain. So in this case, when we're trying to connect it to transmission, so this 90 to 95% is what the transmissions are going to receive it. So from this comparison, it is very evident that the energy efficiency from IC engine is very low compared to the energy efficiency of electric motor. So for providing same amount of power and torque, the electric motors are very compact. You don't need a higher same size of engine, but less compact electric motor to replace this particular IC engines. So let's have a look at say the power distribution also from electric powertrain. As you saw earlier, now we are going to replace that particular IC engine which is there in the layout with electric motor. Okay. So now again, same case, which wheel will be provided? It remains the same case like how you have it in earlier four-wheeler vehicles. It can be given to rear axle or front wheel axle or all-wheel drive. Now, the replacement of IC engine with electric motor. So what are the things which electric motor has to match so that it can replace the IC engine easily? The first thing is electric motor speed range should be very similar to engine speed range if you are not going to change many other things. If you're just, as earlier you saw it, right? Transmission remains same, wheels remain same, everything remains same. You are changing only electric motor. Okay, you're just putting electric motor in place of IC engine. Then the speed range also should match. And the motor torque and power should be matching to the similar engine torque at those particular speeds. Then it's like a like-to-like replacement. Getting a like-to-like replacement is really going to take a lot of time in selecting the right motor. Okay, many times you won't be having the option to have a right motor with a similar speed range, torque range, and power range. Okay, so now let's have a look at some real example of IC engine vehicle and electric motors. So let's take an IC engine gasoline car. I'm just taking a Honda City as an example. Okay, because I just want to take any option which has both gasoline engine and diesel engine. Till now we talked about IC engine. We didn't mention about what kind of engine, right? We talked about only IC engine. I'll come to the point why I'm talking about here a different fuel type of IC engine. So let's say one car is powered with gasoline fuel. Okay, and this particular vehicle has the performance specifications like the weight it has curb weight, which is 1107 to 1153 kgs. It depends upon the accessories and other things. And the dimensions of the vehicle anyhow remain same with respect to gasoline and diesel. Okay, the maximum speed of this particular vehicle is 170 to 180 kmph. And the acceleration time, so we talk about response, we talk about efficiency, we talk about emissions, right? So 0 to 100 kmph is what is the response here talking about, 10.2 seconds. And the particular engine which has been giving power and torque is a 1498 cc engine, which is 4-cylinder engine, and giving close to 120 horsepower at this RPM and 145 Nm torque at 4300 RPM. So let's look at the same vehicle with diesel powertrain option. Now you can see here the weight has been increased a little bit, curb weight 1193 to 1270, and the maximum speed dropped down 140 to 150, and the acceleration time also a little bit dropped. And you see the power has been dropped, and the torque is in a higher side. Okay, at different speeds again. Let's have the comparison here. Now, when we are trying to replace this particular car with electric motor, now how to select motor for this particular different IC engine combinations? Okay, so here you want to match this speed range or this speed range. You want to match this torque or this torque. Okay, you want to achieve this particular speed at this particular speed. What are we trying to match? So how to select right electric motor, okay, and transmission. See, this has, so if you look at this particular vehicle, this has a manual transmission, automatic transmission. Also now, okay, which engine and which transmission I have to select for this particular vehicle. Okay, that's why it looks earlier we talked about only engine to electric motor, but now in this condition, right, which one to choose? You want to match gasoline performance or diesel performance? Because when we are going to have one EV for that particular car, it can replace both engines. So which performance specifications to achieve when we're trying to do this exercise? Okay. So what did we learn till now? In powertrain, in IC engine powertrain, the engine plus transmission has to be replaced by EV powertrain, which is motor plus transmission. And the EV powertrain component selection is very crucial for achieving this vehicle performance. I have a question here. can we have more than one powertrain in the vehicle? So assume when we're talking about powertrain, right? So I mentioned about IC engine powertrain also has, when you talk about engine plus transmission. Okay, so you have a diesel engine plus transmission, gas engine plus transmission. Can we have both together? Can we have more than one powertrain in the vehicle? So I request you to answer the poll. Can we have more than one powertrain in the vehicle? Yes, no. So can we have more than one powertrain in the vehicle? Yeah, I can see like 70% said yes, it is possible to have more than one powertrain, and 23% said it's not possible to have more than one powertrain. Okay, so I'll say yes, it's possible to have more than one powertrain, but let's have a look at configuration where we'll have more than one powertrain. Okay, so in this configuration, so this configuration, what we are seeing here is a front wheel drive configuration. Okay, of course, this is with IC engine. So in this particular configuration, can we have rear wheels which are not powered as of now in this particular configuration? Okay, can we have the rear wheels connected to the electric powertrain? Can we add electric motor and transmission to the rear wheel? Okay, assume now we are going to have some different conditions of working. Assume IC engine is going to work in some conditions. Say all whenever engines vehicle needs more than 60 kmph, I want IC engine to drive the wheels. All under 60 kmph, let electric motor run it. I'm just taking an example. Okay. So can we have rear wheels connected to electric motor powertrain and work at the different modes? So can we have more than one powertrain in the vehicle? Yes, we can have. So vehicles with multiple powertrains normally are called as hybrid vehicles. It doesn't mean it need to be only electric motor. You can have gasoline engine powering front wheels and diesel engine powering rear wheels. Okay. Hybrid vehicles means multiple powertrains are available in the vehicle layout. Okay, where say different fuels are powering different parts. When we talk about electric motor as one of the powertrain, we call as hybrid electric vehicle. Okay, in vehicle with multiple powertrains, when one of them is electric powertrain, they call as a hybrid electric vehicle. That's it. So if you take an option like yeah, I want, or you might have seen another option. Many early before electric motors have been taking more and more market. Before that, you have LPG kits, CNG kits. Okay, even in Delhi today, there are more CNG vehicles. Okay, so obviously, when you have a LPG kit, you have a LPG kit. So assume in this particular vehicle you have LPG kit, but LPG kit is not going to power the wheels directly. LPG kit. So this engine, which has there earlier, assume this is a gasoline engine. Okay, this is powered by gasoline fuel, and you have another bunch of fuel which is LPG. Now, in this case, either LPG or petrol is supplied to this engine to power the front wheel drives. Okay, it's not powering different wheels. It's using the same engine only for generating power. Which fuel is being used is the case. So those are not called as a hybrid. Those are called as a bi-fuel vehicles. Bi-fuel means two fuels which can help for the same engine, but one fuel at a time. Okay, one fuel at a time. And there are other technologies which are like, yeah, why can't two fuels at a time? three fuels at a time. Okay, say take an example of two fuels at a time. So we call diesel plus CNG, diesel plus gasoline, working both together. Okay, so working both together, like for example, you need 20 milligrams of fuel. So 15 milligrams of fuel CNG came, 5 milligrams of diesel came. So that's what we are trying to say. Using two fuels at a time is called a dual fuel. Only one fuel working, but the vehicle has more than one fuel. Okay, if mostly they'll go for two fuels, they don't go for more than two fuels in a vehicle, but you can put it. So when you have two fuels, they call it bi-fuel vehicle. When only one fuel is going into the engine. When you have all the many fuels going together to the engine, so if it is two fuels, it's a dual fuel engine. That's what the way it is. But those are not the hybrid vehicles because they are not powering different way. They are using the same engine to power the wheels. Okay. So now you understood now what is hybrid vehicles and what is hybrid electric vehicles. So can we have more than one powertrain? Yes, we can have. Now, let's take an example. Okay, so I just wanted to have some more poles. So I just want to have a poll now. What are the biggest advantages of electric motors compared to engines? Whatever you understood till now, right? So what are the biggest advantages of electric motors compared to IC engines? So what are the biggest advantages of electric motors compared to IC engines? Is it high power, or is it low end torque, or is it high torque, or is it speed range? Yeah, I can see this group is really very active, and then I can see more votes, more polls being answered. And thanks for that. Okay, so the answer for this is the biggest advantage of electric motors is first thing is low end torque. The second thing is speed range. But again, that's again, as I said, it's a second option, right? Sometimes your speed range also can become a problem. But of course, you can use the speed range what you want. That's again different option. Okay, but the two biggest advantages of electric motors compared to IC engines are having a low end torque, higher low end torque, and speed range. The high power and high torque, you can also achieve the same things with a bigger engine, but the low end torque for the same max torque engine is the advantage of electric motors and the wide speed range of electric motors. Okay, so thanks for answering the poll. Let's come back. So now we'll talk about different configurations of HE. Let's have a look at different configurations possible in hybrid motors. We said more than one fuel you're trying to power the wheels. So it's a hybrid electric vehicle. Now, let's take an example of rear wheel drive IC engine vehicle as electric powertrain is being added to this vehicle. Okay, one option I can see is I can fit electric motor on any of the wheels. Correct? One option can be I can straight away put directly the motor to the wheels. The other option is can I fit between transmission and rear axle? Can I fit it between engine and transmission? Can I fit it between engine and the flywheel? Or can I fit it in the front end of the engine? Okay, front end of the engine. So you can see all these options are feasible to install electric motor now. Okay, so technically when we talk, the motor installed at front end accessories drive, we call it a feed belt. Okay, front end accessories drive is called as a P0 configuration. So when you see any vehicle says, yeah, we have P0 motor, so you should understand you have P0 configuration, means you should understand that particular vehicle has an IC engine powering the wheels. It can be front wheel drive, or it can be a rear wheel drive, or it can be a all wheel drive. And it also has an electric motor on the front end side of the engine. If the motor is placed in between IC engine and the flywheel, okay, this configuration is called as a P1 configuration. If the motor is placed between engine and transmission, it is called as a P2 configuration. Similarly, transmission and axle, it's going to be P3, and on the wheels, it's going to be P4. So hope you understood now what is P0, P1, P2, P3, P4. It depends mostly on the location of electric motor in the vehicle. So different HV configurations we call it as P0, P1, P2, P3, P4. Okay, I have a crazy question here. Can we have all the above configurations in a single vehicle? So if you count, say, okay, let's see how many motors are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 motors. 8 motors and 1 engine powering the wheels. Okay. So can we have all the above configurations in a single vehicle? What do you think? So possibility is yes. It is possible to fit all the motors in single engine. Okay, it's possible to fit all the motors in a single engine, but it's not economically viable option. And now you have to control even the vehicle, which motor or which engine and which condition is driving the wheels. It's possible, but economically it's not viable option. And controlling of this IC engine and motor is going to be very, very complex. But as a research topic, it's always possible to do much more different way of controlling, different way of working together. So I have again one more question. So let's stop for some questions now. So there is a question saying examples for biofuel vehicles. See the example. Hello all. I request if anyone has questions, can you just put it in the QA place? Okay, wherein I can answer your questions. So during the session, anytime, right? You can put the questions so that when I have a QA session time, I'll be answering all your questions. So coming to the question about examples for biofuel vehicles, you can see all these particular vehicles which are CNG fitted, LPG fitment from the manufacturer. Most of the vehicles right now are smart CNG fitted vehicles, right? So all these vehicles come as biofuel vehicles, wherein you can have a possibility of using petrol or CNG option. Okay, so today you can see in India many vehicles in production are available with a petrol plus CNG option. Okay, wherein you can use any of the fuel at any time.
This is Madhu here.
Hi, Madhu.
Hi. Just a small addition to Manjunath's comment on biofuel. Um, we should understand the difference also between biofuel and dual fuel. So, what Manjunath referred to as biofuel. Dual fuel is when two fuels are used at the same time.
Yeah, correct. So last time when I explained, right? So two fuels working together at the same time of engine operation. Okay, as I mentioned about, let's say 20 milligrams of fuel is needed to power the wheels. So 15 grams come from one fuel and 5 grams from another fuel. That is what is called as a dual fuel option. Okay, coming to biofuel, either it is 20 milligrams of one fuel or the other fuel. Like 20 milligrams of petrol is coming or 20 milligrams of CNG is coming. Okay, it's only one fuel working at a time in the vehicle. Okay, means one fuel powering the engine. Coming to dual fuel, it's like more than one fuel working at the engine. So I have another question. What are the examples where you have many P0 and P1 vehicles on the road? Yeah, there are many examples. Today, I just take any real world examples straight away, but I can explain you all the vehicles which are market. Okay, so coming to P0, if you look at Mahindra, they call it as micro hybrids. Okay, so all the micro hybrids means they have electric motor in the front end drive, which is giving you all the uh, basically the motor is at the front end drive as a battery starter generator, BSG call as. Okay, so again sometimes that same motor is being powered by 12 volts or 48 volts, depends on each of the configurations. Most of the Maruti and Mahindra vehicles are fitted with a P0 option with 12 volts. Okay, if you take an example of Toyota Prius hybrid, so it's a P2 hybrid. Okay, so yeah, you just need to understand now, go into the vehicle layouts and how is that motor is powering the wheels, what location is being there. So you can see many P0, P1, P2, P4. There are very less P3 vehicles, but the option, because the advantages are not much with the P3. Okay, so they went with either P0, P1 or P2, and many vehicles has a P4. Okay, so if you take in Tesla, they straight away went with P4 configurations all the time because of it's a higher advantage with that. So let's see any other questions. So why there are no two-wheelers with hybrid layouts combination in India? There are also better range, right? Yeah, that's what I said, right? So here you give option of say, as we talked about front wheel drive, we just given picture of four wheels. Okay, but as an option, if you try to have a smaller battery and using the front wheel to power power the power the two wheeler, right? So you can have option, but economically that's not the suitable option from OEMs. But there are many electric vehicle kits for two wheelers, okay, which can work as a hybrid kit. Okay, I can see more hybrid kits has been in place in the market now, which does the same thing, hybrid configuration for two wheeler. So the other question is to charge batteries of electric vehicles, we need electricity, which is generated by conventional ways. Yeah, that's what we talked about. Electric motors. Right now, we're talking about the efficiency from the electric motors, but how are we powering the motors? Okay, what are the ways of charging the battery? If you are going to use battery in the vehicle, okay, so how are we going to use that? See, if you remember, we talked about the 8 modules of the course. The second module is going to give you more options of how to use different ways to generate energy for that motor. Okay, the second module exactly gives you those details, okay, which gives you how to power the electric motor. The other question what we have is, what is the difference between biofuel and flexi fuel? Okay, so a good question, but let me answer you straight. So flexi fuel, what they talk about is when we have, say, you have petrol. So earlier we used to say it's only 100% petrol. Nowadays they talk about 10% ethanol mix, 20%. So you can say E100, E85, E65. So that's what they're talking about. For the in the same fuel tank, they're going to put different configurations of fuel. It's not only the particular fuel you have to put it. It's a different properties of fuel you can also put it. They will say sometimes if you look at right the vehicles, they will say no, you should not put biodiesel. Okay, which is a flex fuel. Okay, you don't know what's the percentage of diesel and percentage of vegetable oil is there, right? So the flex fuel is mostly talk about E100 or E85, E95, E90, these different options. Biofuel means you see it's two different fuels available in the vehicle. We have another question. Is it the case regarding the losses, or are we considering the same watt engine motor, but there might be limit in increasing the power due to geometric limitations? See, it's not about limiting the power. You need to look at a different safety point of view. If you remember the 7th module, what we talked about, the vehicle performance specifications. So what kind of vehicle performance specifications is supposed to be achieved, and how to select right motor for that particular achieving a performance is what is more focused. Okay, so I can see the questions, right? The most of the questions will be answered with the other modules very easily. So I'll just stop for questions for some time. Then let me continue with some presentation part. Then I'll come back to questions once we find time. Okay, so thanks a lot for for giving me more questions. I would like to answer all the questions, but at the same time, I also need to look at. I don't want you to spend more time, as we have 20 more minutes with respect to time check, right? So let me finish some of the presentations. Obviously, I'll come back to you and then answer all your questions. So now we talk about hybrid configurations. Now we understood earlier we can have any of the combinations. Correct? We can have any of the combinations as all the configurations are feasible in one particular vehicle. Now, if you want only one option or two option or a combination of options or a combination of these options, configurations. So how many configurations are possible when we in a hybrid electric vehicle? Okay. So if you look at here, so you can see here, this gives you 31 different configurations when I'm trying to put it. Say for example, one combination is like configuration one will have IC engine plus P0 only, then IC engine plus P1, plus P2, plus P3, plus P4. Again, when you talk about P4, is it to this P4? What I'm talking about is any of the wheel. If then we can add P4 means powering only rear wheels are powering full, only front wheels are powering all the wheels with 4 motors, or powering one motor with rear wheel, or powering one motor with front wheel, or powering 2 motors with rear wheel, 2 motors with front wheel. If I keep adding those things, it will again bloat up so many configurations. But here what I focused is having P4 means any one possibility of powering wheels directly. Okay, now if you have a combination of P0, then different option, it's there. Okay. So, but what we see normally is like this is the list of configurations possible, what I have written down. But as I said about P4, it can vary a lot and lot of combinations you can achieve. Okay. Now, when we don't have IC engine, so this here in this case we have IC engine. Assume we don't have IC engine now. Then how many EV configurations are possible? So how many EV configurations are possible? Let's take an example of a rear wheel drive EV vehicle. One option is only one electric motor. So with or without transmission again, it depends whether you want transmission or not. Okay, transmission is beneficial in many ways, but again you need to look at whether the electric motor which you selected is helpful with the transmission or not. Another option is you can put it at the axle itself. Another option is you can put it right away to the wheels. Okay, if we take the same naming convention, so we can say P1 motor, then P3 motor, and P4 motors. So with this configuration, but normally P1, whenever we say P1, P2, P3, P4, P0, this is mostly in the hybrid. Okay, I just given your representation, but don't call P0, P1, P2, P3, P4 as a EV part. Okay. So with this, the configurations come up as either powering two front wheels or two rear wheels. Okay, even if you take it right, you will have totally 5 combinations. But again, you want one P4 or two P4. Okay, three P4. So all those things also will increase. Like we say P3 on the front axle, because we talked about here rear wheel drive. When we have all wheel drive vehicles, where you have electric motor in one axle and electric motor in the other axle also, then the number of configurations keep increasing. Okay, so HEV, the way I had jotted down, it was having 31 combinations, but we can achieve more than 31 also. And EV has 5 combinations, but we can achieve more than 5. Okay, so this is all about understanding about different configurations of EV, HEV. So with this, we have finished the introduction of electrification and the most common configurations for EV, HEV. Okay. So we could able to cover all the topics in the given time. Thanks for your support, being more patient. So we covered what is the motivation, what is the IC engine comparison with respect to motors, then the architecture, then the common configurations. So now let's discuss more about. Okay, let me handle 2 minutes more for some of the questions. I can't take all the questions, sorry, but I'll obviously I'll connect with each of you in email and then try to answer your questions. So, meanwhile, let me also have a poll. So which configuration you feel gives you most advantage? So thanks for the answers. I can see 72% said it's P4. Yes, it's right. It's a P4 will have most advantages and most simple. But again, it depends upon which layout is suitable for that particular vehicle. If it is a conversion from IC engine to EV, what is the suitable layout for that vehicle? Or if it is a bottom to top approach of making EV right from scratch, then you need to see what are the advantages and what are the cost implications, and need to select right configuration. So thanks for answering the polls. Let me see if I can take few more questions. Yeah, I can see a question. Is it possible to use hybrid energy storage system which is using supercapacitor and battery for electric vehicle? Yes, if you look at the module of, okay, let me go to the module. Yeah. So if you look at batteries for electric vehicles, right, it depends upon how to select the right battery. But again, we're not focusing more on which technology to use in the battery. Okay, it is possible to use hybrid energy storage system, which is using super capacitor and battery together. Okay, and power the electric vehicle. So in the module 2, you'll understand more about different ways of here you see here battery electric vehicle, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, range extender, fuel cell, solar vehicle. What are the different options of using basically powering electric motor? Okay. Yeah, I think I'll stop for the questions. We have 10 minutes left. So any questions, just please put in your question. Obviously, I'll go through your question and then connect to you and then try to answer your questions. Meanwhile, let me finish some of the other things where I wanted to talk about. So I want to go through the Gannett Academy sign up process. So visit academy.ganettsolutions.com and then go to login page and hit register and enter details in registration window and submit. I'll also go through in the directly with the website. So you will receive an activation link to your email. Then click the link and you're set up with Gannett Academy account. Okay, I'll go through that process also. Certificate of completion. So whoever completes the course, then they will get a certificate of completion, and candidates who register for the course will get 12 months free access. Whoever registered for instructor live course will get 12 months free access for self-paced course. So coming to the advantages of Gannett Academy, the courses created by industry experts for 15 plus years of experience. You can see many courses in Gannett Academy. The Gannett Academy is completely one-stop shop to focus on more on the automotive powertrain courses. Okay, so all these courses has been created by industry experts over 15 plus years of experience. And these courses are focused to bridge the gap between industry and academia who wanted to work in different things, right? This is going to help you a lot. The courses are focused to solve the current and future challenges of automotive industry. Some of the courses comes with remote labs with expert guidance. So I shown you the remote lab of Gannett, which anyone can access it and then get more hands-on experience. So it also gives you more advantage to solve real-world problems and also learn industry tools application with the expert support. So I talked about the live course schedule, which I said I'll be showing you in the end. Okay, so this particular 8 modules course, what we're talking about. Okay, so this is totally 10 hours course, and we have 5 sessions of this particular course, and each session is 2 hours. This is going to start in this is for this 12th April is going to start and 16th April is going to end, and that is the timing of the day. Okay, so after this particular schedule is completed, we'll have continuously different courses and different schedules are going to come up. If any one of you are interested but not able to attend this live course schedule, so please mail to me and academy.ganettsolutions.com. So then we'll reach out to you with the next schedule, which can help you. Okay, so right now we are taken as a weekday schedule because we had this particular course conducted in December and January. We got good feedback and they requested to have more on weekday course. So we took their feedback and created a weekday course for to help a lot. So request all of you to reach out to me if this course schedule is not going to work for you. If you are going to, if this schedule is going to work for you, please send an email so that we'll help you in registration for this live course. As I said earlier, we have options for both self-paced course and then live course. Directly, you can visit academy.ganettsolutions.com and enroll the self-paced course package already available. If you look at the self-paced course approach package, which are right now 7 modules, So the 8th module is going to be available within a week. People who registered for this particular course today and tomorrow will receive that pack, that 8th module as a free module. Okay, if anyone interested to for live course, please send to me or send it to academy@solutions.com. We'll help you supporting and enroll in the course. Okay, and people who take live course, they get access to the self-paced course also free. So let me go to this page and show you how to do the registration. So if you go to academy.solutions.com straight away /XCV courses, you can go to this page. These are the 7 courses which are right now already available in self-paced mode. You can just finish the buying process and then take these courses. As I said, the 8th module is going to be available in a week's time, and you'll get the 8th module for free. That's more. That's a hands-on module. Okay, for registration, you see, I just logged out from here so that I can show you the login process as well. So you can go to register. You'll have a register page. Then you just fill in these details, then submit. Then you will get an email, or you can want to use directly your social accounts. You can straight away log in and then try to create account, and then you can explore your learning paths, as well as you can register for the courses. There are a number of you can see here there are many free courses and paid courses. Okay, so request you to take account with Gannett Academy and take the even free courses, and then see how it's going to help you. Okay, so you can see there are many free courses. Okay, so this is again free course. Okay, so many free courses are also available. Okay, free course. So recommend you to go to academy.ganettsolutions.com and take an account with Gannett Academy. And for having a continuous connect, I recommend you, if you're going to use Facebook a lot, request you to become a member of Gannett Academy, wherein you can see what are the updates happening and what are the different courses coming up, webinars, free webinars coming up, okay, with Gannett Academy. And you can also go to LinkedIn if you're using LinkedIn a lot. Okay, you can also be a member of Gannett Academy, wherein you can see all the things updates here. Okay, so again, any questions, I'll try to take it now. And thanks all for joining. So let me take few more questions. So isn't the case regarding the losses, are we considering the same VAT engine and motor? Because there might be a limit increase in the power due to geometric limitations inside the car, also which reduces the range of the vehicle in general. Yeah, as I mentioned, the 7th module, which I was talking about, it gives you understanding about what you get it here. So how to create a vehicle performance specifications which you have to achieve, and how to select motor and other components accordingly to make a safe EV. Then we have another question: why there are no two-wheelers with hybrid levels? Yeah, this is already answered. I think that's it. So we have 3 minutes left. So thanks all for joining this webinar. We had good interaction from all of you with the questions and with the polls. Thanks for being more active. Okay, so hope you would like to see more of the Gannett courses coming future. Okay, so request all of you to be in touch and then register for the courses and learn more. So happy learning. Take care. Please, you can connect to me directly, or you can send an email to me. Obviously, we'll help you in your learning path. So thanks a lot for joining. So for any questions, you can just email to academy@solutions.com, or you can email it to me. I'll get connected with you. So request you, after this webinar, you will have the course page directed to this link. Okay. So request you to go through the more details. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Hope you will see, I will see a lot of you in my class starting on Monday. Thanks a lot.